Hello, this is Adam. Today I'm going to go over how to curate a blog post. The first part of this, however, is finding your content. If you don't have your content, it's going to be real hard to have a blog post or a source for other activities. This works equally well for planning out videos, getting content to talk about, doing interviews, webinars, things like that. So the gist of this is that when you're looking for sources, sometimes you get stuck and you think, okay, where in the world am I going to get this? Well, there's stuff all over the place. The problem, it tends to be managing your content sources. So for long term, your best bet is RSS feeds. Most people by now probably have some sort of a feed reader, or at least familiar with the concept of RSS feeds and how they operate and how you can manage them. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. At the end I'll show you Feedly, which is a pretty good free reader. And if you want to use that, you can. If not, there's many alternatives. But let's get to it. Alright, so the first one I think that is pretty powerful is Google Alerts. So if you just type in, search for Google Alerts, you come in here, and this is what it looks like now. It's changed over the past few years, but you just type in what you want, and so I went ahead and typed in content curation. And you can see some results, and before you say create alert, you can look at show options. You can say, okay, how often? At most once a day. That's how I like it. You may want as it happens, but I like getting some sort of a summary, especially if you're doing something that's going to have a lot of results. You don't want to get flooded. Sources are automatic. You can choose to narrow it down here. News, blogs, web, video, books, discussions. Leave it at automatic. English. This would be the source language, and then region, any region. For this, I'm just going to say United States, and then they can include all results or best. I'm going to say all results. And this can help you too if you have maybe a term that doesn't have as much results. You can play with this to see how many you might get. Deliver to, you can say either email or RSS feed. So for this, you'd want an RSS feed. Say, okay, create it. And then, whoops, go back and say, okay, if you click on the RSS, you can grab the URL. I'm going to go ahead and get that so we can use that later. And I'll paste that over here. Alright, so that's the first one. Okay, so that's easy enough, and you can do that for many different topics. Quora. Okay, so Quora is a great one for looking for pain points as well as people asking questions. So finding content's great around a topic and finding a topic, but a lot of stuff like with the Google Alerts, you'll find things that are not so much being discussed as maybe news or somebody explaining something. Quora is where people are asking questions. So this is a great opportunity for you to answer that question, and then you can become the source for that. So not going to be as great a one with the content curation, which is what I'm using for this example, but you can see it'll give you topics, it'll give you, okay, here's one. So it's a question, can content curation become mainstream? Okay, you can click on that and read that if you want. When does content curation become content creation? That might be a good one for writing an article about it and saying, well, here's what I think on what you need to do to make a curated article be, original content. What are the best content creation tools for daily use? That's great. So that could turn into a, the top 5, top 10 type of list or something like that. All right. So really good source for answering questions. Let's see, LinkedIn, again, this would be good for industry-centric ideas and questions. Type in something to do with your specific industry or what you're writing about. You may be able to come up with something as well. There may be groups that you can join. So this is obviously going to take a LinkedIn account. So assuming you have that, you can get in here and start searching around, and you'd want to change it. Obviously you're not looking for jobs or any of that. You're looking at posts. You can go through, again, I search for curation. You can see a lot of content here, and you could go in and probably either follow people or look at what groups they're discussing this stuff in. Social media sites. Think of like hashtags on Twitter. There's different ways of doing this on the different sites, but with Twitter, I believe Facebook, probably some others. Obviously Google Plus being one. You can go in and say, okay, well, I want to look for a specific topic here. I've looked for content curation. And we can just go down here and see, okay, well, there's a lot. Let's see. 10 simple steps and 5 powerful benefits, 5 tasks. What else we got? Content curation myths busted. Scoop it, that's a good source. How to make your own RSS feed of curated posts. So there's a lot of good stuff here, so you could get started and also find tweets to embed, things like that. Getting an RSS feed out of Twitter is a little more difficult. It's not impossible, but it's not something they offer easily. It's something you kind of have to hack together on your own. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I can get you some more information. Alright, Google News search. This is similar to doing the Google Alerts, but you can just go in, and this is good as a one-off if you go to Google News and typed in content curation, and you can go through and see. So this might be where you're looking for something more specific once off, and maybe you want to find the RSS feed if you find something good. So let's say we like this article. Let's say content curation, massive time saver for small business owners. So we'll open that up in a new tab. We'll hop over here and say, okay, that's a great article. I want to follow this. So I see an RSS icon there on the author, but I'm wondering if that's just the author. So we'll keep going here and see if we find anything. Okay, so we'll just take the feed off of the author there, and we'll put that back over here. Okay, so there's also some curation plugins that allow you to find feeds, find sources, things like that. They're not just for the actual curation part. This can be handy. So over here, this is WP RSS Curator. We can add categories. So this has more to do with managing on the blog, but we can add a feed. So let's say I want a new category. I want to name it curation, and I can add feeds. So let's go back and grab one of these. Say, okay, I made this. Name is going to be Google Alert Content Creation. Add the feed. Alright, I'm going to add that other one that we just pulled. Just copy and paste that in. We'll say this was B2C author content creation. Add the feed. Okay, so this plugin also has a reader side, so we have all these. We can add in our feeds to watch. This is handy if you're using this on one site. Maybe you want to really start accumulating these instead of using an off-site reader like Feedly or something like that. Alright, so we pick our category, go to curation, say, okay, well, we've got these here. So this is handy, again, on a smaller scale. If you've got 1 or 2 blogs maybe, and you're going through and you have sources that you use a lot, you can go through and look through these. So these plugins like this can be fairly handy. The other one I mentioned here is Curation Suite. I'll save that for another video when we get more into the tools and things to help speed this up. I'll go over RSS Curator as well in a little bit more depth. But Curation Suite is handy. It can help you manage your sources, but it's also incredibly useful for putting the content together. Alright, so now what we've done, I've shown you where to get some of these sources and how to get RSS feeds. But Feedly, how you want to manage these, this is just, again, one way to do this. But let's say, okay, we want to add content. So what we're going to do here is grab our RSS feed and paste it in here. So we'll do this again and say, okay, we'll take our Google Alerts feed, paste that in there. No feed found. Might not be updating it. Let's see. Alright, so we'll grab this. Alright. Okay. So this is handy too, because we can look at this, and if you hadn't already, when you've chosen the source, you can see, okay, well, there's about 4 articles a week. Okay, that's handy, and that gives you an idea too. You know, you don't want a source where it's 1, they've stopped publishing, or 2, maybe it's infrequent enough to not be very handy. Alright, so we can add this, add to Feedly reading list. We can say, okay, well, maybe we want a new category. So we can say content curation, and click add. Don't think you can see it, it's down at the bottom here. Alright, so there we go. Now we have a content curation. And then anytime we do this, we just go back to add content. You can paste in your URL for the feed you have, and then add it to the content curation tab. And that'll automatically go in here, and you can it'll show up right here. And it's pretty handy to do some organization right off the bat. If you're going to be doing content curation, I would advise you to create a separate area for it, and you might want an area in terms of categories, and then maybe some subcategories, depending on how you're doing this. Or you might just say, let's say you're doing automotive content curation, and then maybe another category for, you know, balloon content curation, or whatever you're doing, just to keep things separated, and it makes it much easier to review. Alright, so this is just a few of the sources you can use. Part of it is there's so many sources. As you start going, you'll find more. A lot of this too, you'll find one good source like this, and then this might lead you on to the next one. So if you just grab the RSS feeds as you go, you'll start to accumulate a very good list that you can use. So that's about it for this one. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, or visit the site at oasisoptimization.com. Thank you.